Hi guys, I am Lars. I'm the CEO of Tropica Aquarium plants. Normally you'll have George Farmer standing here presenting all these lovely tanks, and he'll do that in a minute. The reason why I'm standing here today is that unfortunately, due to coronavirus, we have had to cancel Interzoo this year. It's a pity because there's been so much preparations, so lovely tanks done by all kinds of great aquascapers. We've had a very good start on the tanks, and they will be introduced for you where we are at the moment. But sadly, we have to close the tanks down. It's a pity because we're celebrating 50 years celebration of the company here, and we wanted really to have it as a party, on Interzoo, and show all the nice plants that we're doing in the tanks. But we'll be back. I think maybe a postponement here to the autumn. I don't believe in that, but then we'll definitely be there in 2 years' time again in 2022. So until then, cheers guys, and thank you very much all the aquascapers helping out with this. I think you'll be back next time.
Hi everyone, George here, and as you've just heard from Lars, unfortunately I'm unable to give you a full update of the Interzoo 2020 tanks from Denmark. However, good news, I've been sent over some great video footage from my colleague Radu, and I've spent the last 2 days editing that with a voiceover so you can enjoy a full 4-week update of 9 of the tanks. There will be a full update of tank number 10, the limited edition tank, so you can look forward to that soon as well. It's really unfortunate that we couldn't see these tanks evolve to their full potential, but as I'm sure you can understand, with this coronavirus pandemic, priorities have changed. So I really hope you enjoy this video. Give it a like if you do, and subscribe to the Tropica YouTube channel for future updates. Take care. Bye-bye. First of all, let's look at the Tropica decade tanks. The first tank is from 1970 to 1980. Here you can see a still of the tank at day 1, followed by the 2-week update, day 14, and then finally some video footage from day 28. As you can see, the tanks have shown great growth, no signs of nuisance algae or plant melt in this specific aquascape. And the great thing about these tanks is that each of the decade tanks represents 10 years of the aquarium plants that Tropica were producing in that decade. So here in tank 1, the 1970 to 1980 tank, we've got a mixture of Marsilea hirsuta in the foreground. We have some Helanthium quadricostatus in the midground. This is growing really well. Some Anubias nana, which is actually one of the first plants that Tropica produced and actually was responsible for really making them well known in the business. Then we have some good old Java fern towards the back, and then Vallisneria in the background. Here you can just make out some of the hairgrass, the Eliocharis acicularis, and then towards the back, the Nymphea lotus, the tropical lily, looking beautiful. So let's move on over to tank number 2, the decade tank from 1980 to 1990. Again, looking really good, no signs of algae growth. The biggest issue in this tank was the glossostigma failing to really form a tight carpet. And we put that down to the lower levels of lighting and potentially lower CO2 in circulation. Glossostigma really does thrive in high lighting and high CO2 conditions. So in the longer term, this is what I would add. Now these are being dismantled. It's almost a moot point, but just for future reference. You can see how healthy and lush that moss is looking. That will respond really well to a trim. That will promote nice bushy growth. And the Liliopsis brasiliensis is looking really beautiful. The Echinodorus barti is looking really great and starting to produce some red leaves already. This is an interesting plant because it was the first Echinodorus species that Tropica produced to actually produce red leaves. Let's move on to the 1990 to 2000 tank. You can see this is the most impactful, I'd say, out of the decade tanks, using the most height with the lava stone, and the growth has been exceptional. Really impressed with the way the Hemianthus calyptricoides Cuba has formed a solid carpet already. very, very minor algae issues on some of the Microsorum Windelov around the rhizome, and that's why we've added the Amano shrimp. There's a total of about 15 in here, I believe. Doing a great job at keeping the other background levels of algae down. All the other plants are doing really well. The Bacopa compact, the Echinodorus, Arviflorus tropica, showing really great signs of growth. And also the Ludwigia repens starting to show more red as it is getting nearer the light source. And here we have the beautiful Liliopsis maritiana, which is another plant that Holger Windelov actually discovered and brought to Tropica for production. Moving over to the 2000 to 2010 tank. Again, another great signs of growth here on this aquarium. We can actually see the helping plants here, the Limnophylla sessiflora, and we actually removed most of these on the 4th week, which has helped obviously improve the overall aquascape composition. And now the other plants have matured, those helping plants aren't needed so much, hence why we can remove them. Here you can see on the left the beautiful Microsorum terapus trident, beautiful epiphyte plant. And then over to the right you can see the beautiful stem plant, the Houtonia palustris. And then right at the bottom of the screen we've got the Staurogine repens, a nice easy foreground plant. Moving over to the Anubias petite. Now there is signs of melting on this. You can see some of the leaves there just about to detach themselves from the rhizomes. This is a great way to use the Amano shrimp. These will actually eat the waste plant matter, but also really important to remove these dead leaves as soon as you can to help prevent algae issues. Now the reason for this could be that we were using super glue, and it seems that a lot of the plants where we used a lot of super glue did experience this melting. Moving over to the Marsilea crenata there at the foreground, you can see a couple of the algae eaters we've got here in this tank, and in fact all of the aquariums we're using a combination of the nearite snails and the Amano shrimp, just to help keep down these background levels of algae, help prevent algae from occurring in the first place as well. And the Marsilea you can see is just starting to send out new runners, new shoots, and would eventually form a new carpet if we decided to keep these tanks going. Here we have the beautiful Hygrophila pinnatifida. This is a unique plant because it can be used as a stem plant and as an epiphyte plant, and in good light will turn a nice burgundy or red colour. At the moment it's still got its green shape, but over time, especially if we decided to add more light, this would have changed colour significantly, and also will promote more compact growth the more light you have. Here's a close-up of the Houtonia palustris. You can see these beautiful leaves, serrated shape, quite unique, and this is an easy stem plant, so ideal for beginners, and something I would recommend. It is something beautiful and easy to grow, so something definitely to consider. And the final plant we're going to talk about in this aquarium, the Pogostemon helferi, beautiful plant with really interesting curled leaves, and called Little Downoi, which means little star because of their leaf shape. A beautiful foreground plant. Moving on to the final decade tank, 2010 to 2020. This is actually the decade tank we've had the most issues with. So although most of the plants have grown really well, we've had significant melting, particularly with the Bucophalandra Kedigang and some of the Micranthemum Monte Carlo. Also, the Eleocharis acicularis mini has struggled as well. Now, there are a couple of theories to this. Probably the most likely factor is that a lot of superglue was used as an aquarium, particularly to attach the Bucophalandra Kedigang. Also, the Hygrophila araguaia melted completely back as well, and this was also glued in. We did experience melting, particularly in the limited edition aquarium, and this also happens to be another aquarium where a lot of super glue was used. So this doesn't prove that using a lot of super glue causes melting. It's just circumstantial evidence, and there's a strong correlation. So just something to perhaps bear in mind. We're not saying never use super glue to attach your plants. I still use it myself in my home aquariums and clients' aquariums. But just something to consider and something that we've definitely learned from and have found interesting. Moving on to the easy category tank, really pleased to see this one develop nicely. This is one that I aquascaped. You can see the progression there at day 14 and then finally day 28, the 4-week update. The fastest growing plants have obviously really matured nicely, the carpeting plants in particular, with the Helianthemum tenellum green on the left and the right hand side of the foreground, and also the Marsilea hirsuta is really starting to form a tight carpet. Just behind the Marsilea we have the Staurogine repens, which is looking really great. It's also nice to see the Ludwigia palustris starting to get a more red colour as it reaches the light. Here we have the beautiful Microsorum terapus Windelov, named after Tropica's founder, Holger Windelov. This is actually not grown so much, it is a slow grower, as with all the other epiphyte plants in this tank, and this is a good learning point. Plant species grow at different rates, so you need to bear this in mind with your maintenance and trimming practice. Here we have the beautiful Laganindra Mi Boldii red in the centre of the screen, and also some Anubias petite attached to the dragon stone there. And then over to the left, just slightly out of focus, you can see the Microsorum terapus trident. Here you can see some Cryptocorini Wenditii green, one of the easiest plants available. Above that, the Bucophalandra red, a stunning epiphyte plant. And then you can see the Tropica 3-in-1 CO2 diffuser over to the left. CO2 injection isn't required for these easy plants, but as with all aquarium plants, they will definitely benefit from CO2 injection to improve overall health. Here you can see the floating plant, Limnobium laevigatum. This is actually used in all of the aquascapes as a helping plant. It helps to shade the lower plants, helps to avoid algae. It's actually a good indicator plant because it will turn pale if there's more nutrients needed. Here you can see some green filamentous algae. This is quite common in new setups and should be quite easily taken care of by the Amano shrimp and the nearite snails. Also, in conjunction with large frequent water changes and the helping plants, this shouldn't be an issue for very much longer. Moving over to the medium category tank, this was actually aquascaped by myself and Tobias Gaurish. We deliberately used a large number of species all mixed together to create this complex texture, as you can see, that's developed really nicely in the foreground. You can see there in the carpeting plants at the front, the Eliocara sicularis mixed in with the Micranthemum Monte Carlo, and then behind that you can see the Liliopsis maritiana and Pogostemon helfari looking beautiful. Moving on to the midground, we have the Rotala bonsai, which is starting to almost turn orange at the leaf tips. This will get more distinct as they mature. Then we have some epiphyte plants, the Bolbitis Hudalotti, the Hygrophila pinnatifida, looking really beautiful right there, and also the Hygrophila araguae. In the back left, you can just start to see the Rotala species green, just starting to become a nice background plant. In a couple of weeks, this will probably have almost reached the top of the aquarium. Over to the right, you might just be able to see the Rotala hatra. This, in combination with the Rotala green, would have made a beautiful backdrop effect, which would have been trimmed in a V-shaped fashion. Over to the advanced category tank now. This was aquascaped by Tobias Gaurish using the beautiful Frodo stone. Here you can just see the helping plants, the Limnophila sessiflora, which have now been removed. The Glossostigma needed a couple of trims to promote this carpeting effect, but as you can see here, just starting to look good. You can just start to see the Rotala wallachii there popping over that Frodo stone with the red tips, looking really great. This red will be enhanced the more it gets near to the light source. One of my favourite plants at the moment is the Hydrocotyle verticillata. I like to call this the mushroom plant because it has a vertical stem topped off with a mushroom type tip. Here you can see a nearite snail constantly grazing those glosso leaves for any signs of algae and biofilm. And the great thing about these is they don't actually eat the plants, they only eat the algae and biofilm. You can also make out those tiny nearite snails and that right hand Frodo stone there. And nearite snails are particularly good at keeping the rocks free from algae. The only downside is that they can lay stubborn white snail eggs. The good news is that these snail eggs don't hatch because nearite snails need salt water to breed. Last but not least, we have the Cuba Cube tank, aquascaped by Tropica's social media manager, Uris. This has grown in particularly well. You can see the helping plants there in the centre. They've now been removed, and we can see there the beautiful solid carpet of the Hemianthus callitrichoides Cuba. Formed a really lush carpet with no signs of algae or nutrient deficiencies. We can also see the Proserpernica palustris Cuba just starting to go red there at the tips. This will turn more red as it gets more mature and the plant grows towards the lighting. And then finally we have the Ludwigia inclinata Cuba, just really starting to take hold now. Fun fact for you, all three species were actually discovered by Holger Windelov, and this Cuba Cube tank was actually dedicated to his discoveries. There we have it, a update of the 9 aquariums at Tropica in Denmark. Unfortunately, all going to be dismantled now. Good news is that the limited edition Aquascape will be kept running, so I'll be able to give you an update on that soon. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this series of updates from Tropica. Obviously unfortunate with the coronavirus, they had to be stripped down, but like we said at the beginning of the videos, priorities have to be taken into account. Take care and see you in the next video.